That's the next thing I want to talk about. Matter of fact, I'll just skip over to that. Um, the reason why credit cards even took off to begin with is that they scientifically proved that consumer spending is higher when you don't count cash. If you walk into a store with $20 back in the 90s and you're like, I have $20 and that's my budget for groceries this week, you will spend $20 because you can't spend $21 when you have $20. So you might get to the shelf and you might be like, well, I have $1 left, and then I have the choice of the 95-cent option or the $1.50 option. You're never going to spend $1.50 because your budget doesn't allow it, and that's how cash worked. But then they introduced credit cards. They introduced a direct link to your bank account, and then now you have no reason. If you want the $1.50 option instead of the 95-cent option, you're going to buy the upsized option. And this was beneficial to every consumer store in the entire world to have people that just mindlessly consumed whatever the fuck they saw. And it's been so long since we've had cash, people don't even know that the number one way to manage your budget is to stop using credit cards altogether. Because when you have cash in hand and you have a fixed amount of cash and you have a budget for what you're doing, you're going to consider how much you're spending. Whereas if you're using a debit or a credit card, you're just not going to do that. And they've proven that. So that's how credit cards even took off to begin with. And now we're using the app for the exact same purpose. You're using your credit card on the app, spending tons of money you don't need on shit you don't fucking need, so that you eat more and buy more all the time, and it's beneficial to everybody except you. You get raped. So that's it. Oh, by the way, I saw a thing recently, a study that people making over $300,000, I think it was, people making like 60 something percent of people making more than $300,000 a year struggle with credit card debt. They say that their debt is too high for their income. So even people who have immense amounts of money coming in just spend more, and they're in fucking credit card debt to the point where $300,000 a year is not enough to manage their debt. That's how bad consumer spending is. That's how bad the consumer. And the thing is, the government would never do anything to fix any of this because all of that wasteful spending is tied directly into GDP and market velocity, the number one and number two things for measuring the health of the economy. And that means green line go up. If 20-year-olds are $50,000 in debt, up to their eyeball, can't make ends meet, suffering, crying, binge drinking. You know what binge drinking is? Market velocity. You know what therapy is? Market velocity. You know what debt interest payments are? Market velocity. That's GDP, motherfucker. That's what they see it as. So this is Gelbaru. Gelbaru is a porn site, and I have been reached out to by two different porn entities, including Gelbaru, in regards to the payment processing debacle, which continues to escalate, chat. It continues to escalate. Gelbaru's theory is that the person behind deplatforming, in particular with porn sites, is the head of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the CFPB. He's actually, I think, he's both. He's the director of the White House's Office of Management and Budget, and then also the acting director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is, I think, on its way out. I think that his job was to dismember it. So his capacity there in the CFPB is lesser than his role as the director of the Office of Management and Budget. And the interesting thing with him is that he was also an author of Project 2025, and his stance on pornography is very well known. I will let this clip that he linked explain itself, and then I'll give my hot take. You ready? So the guy on the right that's speaking, that is, what was the name? Russ Vought. Russ Vought.
When I talk about 50-year issues that we've lost because we didn't have the right framing, that's one of them. And you know, our view is we've got to have a culture that values babies and the life that's created and is focused on the birth rates and makes them a positive good as opposed to a burden. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, we're always looking for what's the immediate fight leverage point that we can win and win a debate that allows us the next fight to get more of the win than we could have. For instance, right now we came up with an idea on pornography to make it so that the porn companies bear the liability for the underage use as opposed to the person who visits the website getting to just certify that I'm 18. And we've got a number of states that are passing this, and you know what happens is the porn company then says, we're not going to do business in your state, which of course is entirely what we were after. Right? So we're doing it from the back door. We're starting with the kids, and then like we'd have a national ban on pornography if we could, right? So we would have, the porn companies being investigated for all manner of human rights abuses. So that's how we approach a problem, and life is no different. We're looking for, if we lose elections on this, then we don't have the ability to save babies. We don't have the ability to save life.
So that's the bad guy.
So it's not just Pornhub.
I don't know. Oh, that's the lady that's really anti-porn. I think that's the lady who, Layla Mickleweight. I think she's the woman that's been suing Pornhub and has been dismembering Pornhub. She really, really hates Pornhub because they host a ton of child pornography and revenge pornography, and they actively know about it and profit off it. And she has proven that in court. So that lady, don't fuck with her. She holds a grudge. Anyways, we want to talk about this guy, Russ Vought. So that was the clip that was used and has been sent to me twice now by different sites to try and indicate to me that this guy is the problem. I take issue with this. I listened through this clip, and he says absolutely nothing about using payment processors to backdoor the issue. He talks about using the kids to get minor protection acts, which is happening. The ID verification for porn sites is a state-by-state issue happening right now where certain sites are requiring it. So it's definitely not a, how do I say it? It's definitely not, if you want to go through payment processors, that doesn't seem to be happening. Though they would argue that the recent crackdowns might also be coming from his end, kind of like a pincer to hit him from both sides, both the legal side and the financial side. I remind you that MasterCard and Visa fought very hard to keep Pornhub monetized. So I am inclined to, and it still is, and I have a feeling, my hunch is that if the payment processors were really being goaded by Vault to deplatform porn sites, they would start with the most ubiquitous ones like Pornhub. They wouldn't start with Gelbaru or Steam or the Patreon thing that has Lolicon on it in Japan. I have a feeling that would not be what's on a 70-year-old man's mind when he starts going after porn companies. So I'm not convinced on that. I also don't necessarily believe that he has the capacity in his role to provide the regulatory oversight over the card networks to make that push happen. He's not in the DOJ. He's not in the OCC. He's in consumer protection, which basically only oversees mortgages, as far as I'm aware. And then the House Budget Committee or not the House Budget Committee, but the White House's Office of Budgetary Management. I don't think that has any control over payment networks. I think that's like the internal budget management of the White House. So I'm really not sold on that theory. I believe that this is still the card networks acting independently, and they're going after certain sites more than others. In particular, anything that's politically charged, which I'll get to something in a second. But I just want to say I'm not convinced that this guy is the devil pulling the strings. And my thought with that is that he hasn't been around for too long, and the card networks have always been bad. I've always been debanked. It's been for 10 years. It was through Obama, it was through Trump, it was through Biden, and it's through Trump again. I still do not have reliable access to a payment processor. By the way, I've had a productive conversation, and the check processing thing is back in motion. So it's a when I say look, I know it feels like I don't get too much done because it takes a long time for things to happen, but I promise you I'm getting stuff done. In particular, I have an enormous piece of hardware behind me, and it's a part of my 10,000 year plan. If you're on the locals at mattheinternet.locals.com, I am going to be putting something together very soon, and I almost have all the pieces to my puzzle, and I will let you see it. My cool little project chat. I'm reinvesting into my setup so I can accomplish more chat. Okay, so this is Russ. I already played that. That was the conspiracy in regards to him. Asmongold has mentioned the Kiwi farms yet again, in particular in regards to a tweet that I'll read in a second. How like I said, I think he's like slowly testing to see if he can get away with talking about us, because it's like he mentioned me, and then he read one of my tweets, and then he read a Kiwi Farms tweet, and it's like, okay, if I gotten any pushback from Twitch yet from my own audience, look, buddy, just bring me on, put me in the game. I'll lay it all out. I'm normal. I'm normal. I can talk normal for periods of up to an hour at a time. Okay, I can promise you 1 hour of highly medicated conversation. Outside of that, no guarantees. Uh, but he keeps hinting, and he needs to just do it, bro. Just pull the trigger, bro. He follows me on Twitter, bro. Just do it. Anytime, just let me know. Except Fridays, I'm busy on Fridays. I'm eating pizza or I'm streaming. So Asmongold has been talking about MasterCard, and in particular, MasterCard was forced to address concerns after the pushback. In particular, MasterCard says, we only obey the LOL, which has caused Valve to come out and tell people that in a very rare move for Valve, Valve came out and actually directly discussed things. Valve almost never issues press statements, so this was an incredible feat. For them to come out and actually talk about MasterCard. They must be really pissed off. They say, in response to Kotaku, Valve says that while MasterCard did not communicate with them directly, concerns did come through payment processors and banking intermediaries. They said payment processors rejected Valve's current guidelines for moderating illegal content on Steam, directly citing MasterCard's Rule 5.12.7. Which just goes to show you that there are 5 sections, at least 12 paragraph in section 5, and then lines 7. So that's how, to give you an idea of how grand the scope is. And that's just MasterCard. Like, who knows what Visa card says? Who knows what American Express says? Who knows what Discover says? Who knows what the acquiring banks say? They all have their own terms of services, their own fucking rules, their own litmus test, their own application of those rules. It's all fucking bullshit. And you have to somehow comply with all of them. And if you're not Valve, if you fuck up at all or they get pissy, they just cut you off and there's no appeals and you don't get to know why. So you can try to reapply through a different processor, but there's no guarantee you're going to go to a different underwriting bank. There's no guarantee that MasterCard's not going to get pissy again. You'll never know if it was MasterCard or the acquiring bank or just the processor themselves. All opaque, all by design to be as confusing as possible and as miserable as possible, to demoralize you and force you to stop doing whatever you're doing. So in regards to that, I actually made a Zeet on the Kiwi Farms account. Pull that up. I said Kotaku has received a response from Valve confirming the payment processors and acquiring banks cited MasterCard card network rules as a justification for banning adult games. I showed the USIPS article and I posted a screenshot. And surprise, it's actually got 1.5 million views and 6,000 likes, which was very emboldening. In particular, because one of the people who responded to this was this guy, a Japanese man who says anti-censorship in his username. And he translated says, important post, Steam's censorship is said to be the result of approaches from payment processors and banks to Valve, the operator, and the reason they cited was MasterCard's card network rules. Well, who is Z Kurishi? Is he also a porn site owner? What is he? No, he is a... Oh, I can't translate it. He is a parliamentarian that currently sits in the assembly in Tokyo. So he is basically a Japanese congressman in Japan. Now listen, it's a long shot. I will fly to fucking Tokyo and explain to the Parliament of Japan the issue with the card networks. If I can't get Asmongold, I will settle for this. I will settle for going to Japan. Me, the one man apocalypse himself, okay? And if they invite me, if I get a nice little purple envelope from the Parliament of Japan, you can down. And you know what? I won't be the fattest, dumpiest looking white guy in Japan. I guarantee you. What's the name? There's like this really famous street in Tokyo that has like all the computer shit in it, and it's in that flash animation about a troll. What is it? It's like Akihabara. Exactly. Compare me to the white guys in Akihabara. I'll be looking good. I'll be looking like a stud. I'll be a good representation of the American. Once in a lifetime, a Japanese people will see a good, pleasant representation of Americans, white Americans. I'm dead serious though. If that's what's required to take down the card networks, I'm fucking there. I will go to Japan if I have to. And finally, one other shill, Carl Benjamin retweeted Nick fucking Fuentes griping about being debanked and says, whether you like him or not, he has admitted that in a modern economy, access to a bank account must approach something like a human right. Bro, Nick Fuentes is a fucking gay retard, okay? Don't talk to him. Talk to me. I will be on Lotus Eaters if I have to. I will don the suit and talk to Don Sargon if I need to, okay? I can be tame, civilized, even in the presence of the Angloids. When it comes to this most precarious of issue, this most urgent and pressing of concerns, even the Anglish can be tolerated, chat. Even the English. All allies are welcome allies in this fight against financial tyranny, chat. As it is. Josh will talk to the Anglo. That's right. I will. Buy a suit, Josh. No, not yet. I'm getting there. I'm getting close to considering a suit territory, but I'm not there yet. Not quite. So that is the update on the payment processor thing. More people noticing all I'm saying here. Okay.